When I first stepped into our dream home, it felt like everything was falling into place. I worked tirelessly to save enough money, sacrificing vacations, weekends, and even sleep to give my wife and kids the life they deserved. The house was perfect. Spacious rooms, a backyard big enough for barbecues and for our kids to run around in, and a kitchen that my wife Emily had always dreamed of. Little did I know, this house would become the epicenter of my world unraveling. The first sign something was wrong came a week after we moved in. Emily seemed distant. At first, I chalked it up to the stress of the move, but there were other subtle changes. Late-night phone calls she dismissed as just catching up with friends, her phone always face down on the counter, and a nervous energy that seemed to linger whenever I entered the room. I ignored the red flags, wanting to believe everything was fine. After all, we had just achieved a major milestone together. Why would she be unhappy? One evening, I came home early from work, carrying a box of pastries for the family. The house was unusually quiet. I wandered through the rooms, calling out, but there was no response. Then, I heard it, a muffled voice coming from the bedroom. Emily was on the phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but the words froze me in my tracks. The lived in, as if to say, "Don't worry," she whispered. "He'll never know. This house will be ours soon." I felt like the ground beneath me disappeared. Ours? Who was she talking about? I stood there, paralyzed, as she laughed softly and hung up. When I entered the room, she jumped, her face turning pale. She fumbled for an explanation, but I didn't press her. I didn't trust myself to speak. Instead, I made up an excuse about a meeting and left the house, my heart pounding in my chest. Driving aimlessly through the city, I tried to piece together what I had just heard. Was she planning to leave me? And who was the other person in this equation? My mind raced with possibilities, each more painful than the last. I needed answers, but I also needed proof. Over the next few days, I paid closer attention to her behavior. I noticed the way she smiled at her phone, the quick text messages she tried to hide, and the excuses to leave the house for errands. My suspicions grew, but I wanted to be sure before confronting her. That's when I decided to look through her phone. Shocked, floor after shock struck me when I saw all the naked pictures of my friends. I saw pictures of my friends, sleeping, walking, gambling, eating, drinking. So one night, after she fell asleep, I carefully unlocked her phone. My hands shook as I scrolled through her messages. There it was, a thread with someone named Jake. My stomach churned as I read their exchanges. They were flirtatious, filled with inside jokes. And then there was a message that confirmed my worst fears. I can't wait to start our life together in that house. Rage and heartbreak coursed through me. This wasn't just a fling. She was planning a future with him. A future in the home I had worked so hard to provide. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I took screenshots of the messages and started planning my next move. I wanted to expose her lies, but I also wanted to protect myself and my kids from the fallout. If the lies were true, then the worst-case scenario was I also wanted to protect myself and my kids from the fallout. I reached out to a lawyer the next day. He advised me to gather as much evidence as possible and to stay calm. Emily had no idea I was onto her. She continued her charade, acting like the perfect wife in front of the kids. It was sickening to watch, but I played along, waiting for the right moment. That moment came 2 weeks later. I had installed a small recording device in our bedroom to capture her phone calls. What I heard confirmed everything. She was talking to Jake about their plans and how she couldn't wait to make the house theirs. She even joked about how clueless I was. Um, she laughed. And, and I no longer believed her stories when she said their plans and how she couldn't wait to make the house theirs. I decided it was time to confront her. One evening, after putting the kids to bed, I sat her down in the living room. My hands were steady, but my voice was cold. "Emily, who's Jake?" Her face went white. She stammered, trying to come up with an explanation, but I cut her off. I showed her the screenshots and played the recording. There was no denying it now. She broke down, crying and begging for forgiveness. She claimed it was a mistake, that she had been lonely, and Jake had been there to listen, but her excuses fell on deaf ears. The betrayal was too deep, the trust shattered beyond repair. I told her I was filing for divorce. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and tough conversations with the kids. I fought to keep the house, not out of spite, but because I didn't want them to lose their home on top of everything else. Emily moved out and went to live with her parents. Jake was nowhere to be seen. Apparently, the fantasy of a new life together didn't hold up under the weight of reality. Slowly, I began to rebuild my life. I focused on my kids, making the house a place of love and stability. The pain of Emily's betrayal lingered, but it also taught me the importance of resilience. I realized I deserved better than someone who would throw away our life together so easily. And so, months turned into a year. The house, once a symbol of heartbreak, became a place of healing. My kids and I created new memories, filling the rooms with laughter and love. And while the scars of the past remained, they served as a reminder of my strength and the lessons I had learned. I was completely blown away by the complexity and the complexity of human emotion. Looking back, I'm grateful for the truth, no matter how painful it was. It set me free to build a better future for myself and for my children. And that's a dream worth fighting for. Thank you for listening to this unbelievable story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to hear more captivating Reddit stories, make sure to subscribe to Story Voyage and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. See you in the next story.